If Dad finds out, we'll be grounded until we're grandparents. Ellie hissed, clutching the muddy, shivering puppy like she just rescued a diamond from a crime scene. That was the moment I knew I'd officially lost control of my household. It all began on a deceptively quiet Thursday. My husband, Mark, had left for a 3-day work trip to Chicago. It was his first time traveling since the pandemic and, let's be honest, the man had been looking forward to it like it was a solo vacation to Mars. Just before pulling out of the driveway, he kissed me on the cheek, leaned into the window and said, "Don't let the house burn down." I should have taken that as a warning. Barely an hour later, our 2 kids, Ellie 10 bossy with bangs, and Max 7 sweet but entirely chaotic, came barreling into the house with dirt on their faces and destiny in their arms. "Emergency!" Ellie shouted, slamming the door behind her like she was hiding from the FBI. "Mom, we need you." That's when I saw him. The puppy. Wet, wide-eyed, and covered in enough leaves and burrs to resemble a mobile compost pile. His eyes locked with mine, and I swear I heard a tiny internal voice whisper, "You're going to love me. And also regret this." "Where did you find him?" I asked, already fearing the answer. "Behind the schoolyard. No collar. No tag. No barking," Ellie explained like a well-rehearsed lawyer defending her client. "He followed us. We had no choice." Max added solemnly. He licked my elbow. "We're bonded now. Look, I'm not made of stone. I'm a mom. I gave birth without epidurals and once pulled a Lego from my nostril after Max sneezed mid-laughter. But this dog? He had those cartoon sad eyes. And my children were looking at me like I was holding the keys to the universe. "I'll post on the neighborhood app," I said cautiously. "But we can't keep him." "Just until Dad comes home," Ellie said. That's when I froze. "Absolutely not," I said. "Your dad would lose his." "Exactly." Ellie gave me a look. "Which is why we don't tell him." And that, ladies and gentlemen, was how I got peer pressured by my children into committing suburban pet fraud. We named him Buster. It took 5 minutes and a group vote. Ellie wanted Sir Barkington, Max suggested Chomp Chomp, and I, craving normalcy, pushed for Buddy. Buster was the compromise. He immediately peed on the bath mat in approval. From that moment on, we were in full cover-up mode. I became a criminal mom with a vacuum in one hand and a lint roller in the other. That night was chaos in 3 acts. Act 1. Buster escaped the laundry room and pooped directly inside Mark's gym shoe. Max thought this was hilarious. I did not. Act 2. Ellie attempted to train Buster using peanut butter and YouTube tutorials. She ended up with peanut butter in her hair and a puppy that thought sit meant zoom wildly in circles. Act 3. At 11:47 p.m., Buster barked at his own reflection in the microwave, waking the neighbor's dog and probably half the block. "This is unsustainable," I muttered to myself while scrubbing paw prints off the hardwood floor with a toothbrush. "Isn't he the best?" Ellie said dreamily, spooning Buster like he was a stuffed animal. I stared at them, already imagining the mountain of lies we'd have to climb to keep this dog a secret. And then my phone buzzed. Mark, how's it going over there?" "Me, you know. The usual." "Mark, I miss you guys. Give the kids a hug for me." "Me, trying to hide a dog is a full-time job." "Me actually will do." "Miss you too." I tucked the phone away and looked at Buster, now snoring with his tongue out, flat on his back. "You'd better be worth it," I whispered. He farted in response. At 7 a.m. the next morning, I woke up with a crick in my neck, dog hair on my pillow, and a firm resolve. We needed structure. "Team meeting. Kitchen. Now," I announced, still in my bathrobe, holding a clipboard I stole from Ellie's craft bin to feel more in control. "Welcome to Operation Hide the Dog," I said. 3 roles. Ellie, dog trainer. Max, scout and lookout. I'm the fixer, cleaner, and distract dad from the truth specialist. "We all good?" Ellie saluted. Max dropped a Cheerio in his sock. Buster sneezed and peed under the table. We had work to do. First obstacle, the neighbor. Mrs. Crandall, our resident busybody and peach cobbler dealer, had a sixth sense for neighborhood drama. Naturally, she chose this morning to drop by with leftovers. "Something smells." "Canine," she said, stepping over the threshold, nose twitching like a bloodhound. "It's a new essential oil. Bergamot Basset blend, I said smoothly. She narrowed her eyes. I handed her an extra slice of cobbler to buy her silence. Bribery works. Second obstacle, FaceTime. Mark called during what we had labeled quiet hour, when Buster was most likely to nap. We weren't so lucky that day. Where are the kids? He asked. They're doing a reading challenge, I said, casually blocking the view of the hallway where Max was chasing Buster with a sock on a stick. Then Buster barked. Mark squinted. Was that timer? Gotta take banana bread out of the oven. I yelled and hung up so fast you could hear the digital air gasp. Back at HQ, aka the laundry room, we debriefed. Status? I asked. Buster chewed through one of Dad's socks and hid it behind the toilet, Max reported. Also, I think he's afraid of the vacuum. Same, I muttered. Ellie looked proud. I taught him to sit. Once. Our days became a blur of sneaky maneuvers. We ate meals in shifts so someone was always on puppy patrol. I created a system of coded barks. 1 for danger, 2 for poop, 3 for he's chewing something valuable. Do normal families do this? Ellie asked one night as we brushed dog hair off the sofa for the 4th time. No, I said. They just make smarter choices. But deep down I knew we were bonding. Through every mess, every bark, every ridiculous cover-up, we were forming something unexpectedly magical. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. And we still had 24 hours before Mark came home. Plenty of time for this to go very wrong. The morning of Mark's return dawned bright and unnervingly quiet. Too quiet. Where's Buster? I asked over my coffee, trying not to panic. A missing puppy was not part of the plan, especially not on the final day. He was here like 5 minutes ago, Ellie said mid-panic braid. Max shrugged. I gave him part of my granola bar. Then he ran away sneezing. I stood there, eyes wide, a half-eaten bagel in one hand and a sudden sense of doom in the other. We were on the edge of catastrophe. Our entire operation had been held together with Febreze and blind optimism, and now our one furry witness had vanished. All right, I said, clapping once. This is it. Emergency protocol. Operation Find the Fugitive is go. We tore through the house like a search party in a disaster zone. Ellie checked under beds and in closets. Max crawled under the couch with a flashlight and a slice of American cheese as bait. I even checked the dryer. Did you check the garage? I asked. Max shook his head. Too dark. And it smells like feet. That's probably where he is, I muttered, heading out with a flashlight of my own. Sure enough, there he was, curled up inside one of Mark's old sneakers, snoring peacefully. The same sneakers Mark had once said he'd be buried in, because they were the perfect shoe. I stared at Buster, perfectly nestled in Mark's size 11 legacy. We are so doomed, I whispered. It was 11:15 a.m. Mark's flight had landed. Panic set in. Full throttle. We had 5 hours to erase all traces of Buster from the house. The mop came out. Vacuum hoses tangled like jungle vines. I dumped every blanket, towel, and possibly cursed item into the wash. Ellie followed with a lint roller like she was wielding a magic wand. Max somehow Febrezed the Wi-Fi router. We had to reboot the house. You missed a spot, Ellie said, pointing to the hallway rug. Where? I asked, spinning like a ballerina on speed. There. She pointed again. No, there. Wait, never mind, that's spaghetti sauce. Why is there spaghetti sauce on the floor? We didn't even eat spaghetti. Max tried to make breakfast burritos. It was artistic, he mumbled. By 2:30 p.m., the house smelled like lavender, bleach, and desperation. Every window was open. Every inch sparkled. Every chew toy had been hidden. Buster, now leashed in the garage with a chew bone the size of his head, looked disappointed. We'll come back for you, Ellie whispered like they were star-crossed lovers in a soap opera. Then Mark texted. In the Uber. Be home in 20. Cue internal screaming. At 2:48 p.m., Mark walked through the front door. The air froze. Wow, he said, looking around. It smells like a flower shop had a nervous breakdown. Spring cleaning, I said too quickly. He raised an eyebrow. Where are the kids? They're reading. Max walked by, holding an upside-down book. Ellie followed, her hair still frizzing from dog bath splashback. Mark narrowed his eyes. Something weird's going on. I smiled, the smile of a woman hiding not just a dog, but perhaps a secret second family and a bank robbery. Then came the noise. A loud, unmistakable woof, followed by the sound of a shoe being thoroughly destroyed. Mark froze. That came from the garage, he said slowly. I stood there, every excuse I'd rehearsed over the last 72 hours suddenly evaporating. You didn't, he started. But it was too late. Buster had chewed through his leash and burst into the house like a furry cannonball of joy. And then, he jumped straight into Mark's arms. Time stood still. Mark stared down at the muddy, panting puppy now perched on his shirt. One paw rested directly over his heart. The other was gripping his tie like a hostage negotiator. I offered. Surprise. He looked up at me. What is this? This, I said, swallowing hard, is Buster, also known as Secret. Mark blinked. Secret. Max chimed in proudly. Because you weren't supposed to know about him. The tension in the room stretched until it snapped. Not with a shout. Not with an argument. But with a laugh. A deep, rolling, unexpected belly laugh that started in Mark's chest and filled the room like sunshine. I knew, he said between gasps. You think I didn't hear that bark on FaceTime? I watched Max dive off camera like a Navy SEAL. I stared at him. You knew the whole time? I wanted to see how far you'd take it. I expected some sneaky behavior. Not a full-blown military-grade cover-up. Ellie looked up, blinking. Wait, you're not mad? Oh, I'm mad, he said, ruffling Max's hair. This little guy chewed up my favorite sneakers. Max pointed at Buster. He's teething. It's medical. Mark shook his head, still smiling. Then his expression shifted just a bit. You know, he said, sitting on the couch with Buster still tucked under one arm. When I was 9, I tried to hide a kitten in my closet for a week. Thought I was slick. What happened? Ellie asked. My dad found her the second night. I got grounded, but then he let me keep her anyway. He said if I cared enough to sneak her in, maybe I'd care enough to love her right. I felt something tighten in my chest. Mark looked down at Buster. This guy, he's trouble. But I get it. Ellie gasped. Does that mean? Mark sighed dramatically. Fine. He can stay. Max cheered. Ellie burst into tears. Buster wagged his tail so hard he fell off the couch. On one condition, Mark added, looking directly at me. No more secrets. Not even small furry ones. Deal, I said, exhaling for what felt like the first time in 3 days. We sat together that evening, dogs snuggled between us, exhausted and happy. Our house was still chaotic. There were bite marks on the coffee table. One shoe was forever gone. But something had shifted. We were no longer just a family with a secret. We were a family that had shared one and come out stronger. Buster slept soundly that night in the middle of our bed. Mark didn't even complain. And for the first time I realized that maybe love isn't always clean or planned or quiet. Sometimes, it chews your sneakers, pees on the rug, and still somehow manages to bring everyone a little closer.